Welcome back to another wonderful episode of The Untold, the show where we uncover people's journeys and lives and we get to really see what lies under the surface. Today we're joined by Nouf AlMoawad, who's an educator, mental health advocate, and prematurity advocate, which is a really interesting thing to kind of talk about.
It is, very well said, Lujain. Motherhood is a pillars of all societies, right? الجنة تحت أقدام أمهات. So to talk about motherhood, their journeys, and how they overcome a lot of the trials and tribulations of such an ordeal that is shared across the board is going to be a highlight of today's episode. So I do hope that the audience are curious about it because we are going to take a break. But after the break, we're going to come down and sit with Nof. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us after the break. But most importantly, thank you, Nouf AlMoawad, for being our guest today on The Untold.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
It's wonderful to have you. And I heard that, you're a mother to four very beautiful children. And, three of them are actually triplets. Mashallah. I feel like that must have been like a big surprise almost. I actually had a family friend who had the same thing. They have four kids, one, and then the ones that came after were all triplets.
Wow.
So I just wanted to ask you, how did being a mother kind of shape your view on life and your experience with things?
It really shed light on what matters the most more than anything else. And I feel we all grow up kind of wired in a certain way where this is the textbook or the standard, or if you do A, you got to B. And it very much applied with my first daughter, because again, very textbook, very standard. And then with my triplets, it's like, but hold on a minute, there's no plan for this. There's no handbook, yesterday I was 6 months pregnant, all good. Today, they're the size of my palm. And it then kind of confirmed that it's not one size fits all. The toolkit at the hospital that they used for my eldest didn't work for them, or wouldn't have worked for them. They wouldn't have survived. And it was kind of like, okay, they're different. Their background, their context, their history, their way they were born is different. It's not one size fits all. So it just kind of really started to channel the way I look at everything in life. Like, we need to stop the textbook responses, the auto responses. Everyone's different, and the context, the background. So they taught me a lot. They opened my eyes to this.
And speaking about the contest and opening your eyes to a lot of things, mashallah, your two experiences could be entirely different from each other, right? First, your first child, and then a triplet, which is also uniquely kind of experience by itself. So what kind of advice you wish you had or knew before you got into motherhood, whether it's for the triplets or your firstborn?
Honestly, I remember hearing a lot from people that the first couple of weeks, the first couple of months, the first few years, it's difficult, but then you'll get your life back. And no one ever told me that you never get your life back. It takes a different shape. It's like it transforms, it translates into something else. So I think the biggest advice would be there's no going back. It's moving forward with them, for them. So I think if we hang on to this hope that this is temporary, it's not temporary. We signed up for this, like, it's for life.
I think that's so true. Like, motherhood is for life, parenthood in general. Like, once you bring a child into this world, they're your responsibility, and like, you're gonna love them, but it's gonna come with its challenges as well. Like, it's just a whole different world, as you said. It's a different life than you're used to, but it's rewarding and challenging in like different ways. And something I do want to ask you about though, because I saw that on social media you've shared that your triplets were born prematurely and they required intensive care and hospitalization, which must have been really scary, to be honest. So I just wanted to ask you, like, how did that experience shape you, or how did it affect you?
As someone that's kind of always been naturally, I write, I speak. Sometimes it's impossible. It's like, tell her to stop, get her to stop. I didn't expect it. I didn't see it coming. I heard the facts from the doctors, the statistics, the kind of, when you're carrying twins, it is more probable that you have them early. When you're talking about triplets, it's very highly likely. But I didn't understand that meant 26 weeks or 6 months. That meant that 1/3 of the pregnancy happened outside in a ventilator. In an incubator, on ventilators. And the fear of seeing them I'm like, oh, come see your babies. They're okay. I remember that was the first kind of to help calm me down. Look, they're okay. Come and see them. I didn't expect that I was going to walk into the NICU, or the intensive care unit, and they looked like jelly beans. They didn't look like humans. Like, it wasn't normal. Like, I remember feeling, I was afraid when I first looked at them. I was scared, and then the guilt was like, why am I scared of my own baby? But they don't look like babies. They look like fetuses. The pictures that you see, like on the ultrasound, when you're looking, like they can't be real. They're hooked onto every wire in the world. And then it's like the doctors, they do this every day. So it's Fayuna, bed number 1. They used to call them numbers all the time. Bed 1 is the strongest, you know, she's fighting. Beds 13 and 19 are not doing great. This was Umar and Wahab, the boys, and especially bed 19. Bed 19, and that was the first. I was still on a wheelchair. I insisted, like the moment that I was out in recovery, I'm like, I need to see them. And my mind and my body are trying to kind of understand what just happened here. And all they said to me is, we don't recommend you see bed 19. And I'm just like, Umar. And they're like, he's not going to make it through the night. And it might be a blessing, because the brain damage and the stroke they had at birth, and then with Wahabi as well. And the 2 boys basically had grade 4 brain hemorrhages on both sides of their brain, which is the worst that they could have. And it has the worst outcome, the worst prognosis. And I never felt more alone in my life. I'm like, who do I talk to? These doctors are amazing. And we are blessed. And I always say this and highlight this. We are blessed to have the best healthcare in the world. The Ministry of Health, the care that went in, the expertise, the no expense spared, you know, like everything, the outcomes would not have happened without the Ministry of Health and what they gave us. But they see this every day. It's numbers to them. It's fact. And I'm like, okay, what do we do? And we didn't talk about it here then. So I found myself kind of staying up all night, connecting with online support groups in Australia and the UK and whoever is awake, just to kind of share that. Like, I want to know what to expect, what happens next. So yeah, I probably went off on a million tangents there, because that's a big one for me.
No, but it's like a really heavy topic. It's like, if they're your children at the end of the day, it's not easy.
And how do you explain to someone that, what do you mean a blessing? I'm his mom. Like, you're not sparing me by telling me it's a blessing. If it means they're on machines for the rest of their lives, that was the prediction. You know, they're going to be vegetables. They're going to be on machines their whole lives. And I'm blessed with the fact that they're still here. That's the blessing. Like, It's not like I'm their mom. I'll take them. I'm not here to just take perfect babies home. I'm here to take my babies home, and whatever kind of outcome or prognosis that looks like.
Yeah, you brought them into this world and they're a part of you. So no mother ever wants to hear about their child leaving the world, you know. They want their child with them no matter what.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Yeah, and speaking about such a, I would say, troubling kind of, you know, period where you're dealing with it on a mental, you know, aspect, and also an emotional aspect, which I'd imagine both of them took a very heavy toll. So how did you recover, you know, in both aspects? How did you find your emotions, your mental capabilities back to, you know, I wouldn't say normal, because that's a very traumatic experience, but, you know, up there?
And thank you kind of for saying to normal, because there will never be normal again. And this is something that I think it's not temporary. That scar and that trauma will forever kind of be with me. The smallest sound of there's a certain way, if you're wearing white shoes or white trainers on rubber floor, and there's a certain run that immediately makes my heart start to, because it's the nurses kind of running the moment that Umar would code. And that still, my body still reacts to that sound today. When COVID hit, they were home, they had been home for a few months, so it was still very fresh. As soon as sanitizers became the norm for us with COVID, any scent or smell of sanitizer, my body would respond, because I'm like, that's how I used to have to scrub before going in to see them. So there is no normal. So thank you. It wasn't a choice, it was a need. It was when I realized that I wasn't helping them. I was very weak. I shut myself out. I shut everybody out. And then when it started to look more and more likely that they're coming home, I'm like, this isn't, they need more. They need stronger than this. And so I asked for help. And I think this is something that's really important to highlight. And it's something, there's no shame. Or I got to a point where I'm like, I'm not okay. the PTSD that kind of hit afterwards was a chemical imbalance in my brain as a response to the trauma that took place. And, you know, just like any other organ in the human body that kind of requires medical attention and care, my brain needed, like it needed it. So I asked for help. I went to see a doctor. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and major depressive episode. Like at the point, anxiety was through the roof. It was through, you know, medication, treatment, therapy, and then sharing the experience with everyone, kind of connecting with other people, seeing that it's so much more common than we think. And people, or women especially, were just waiting for someone to kind of say, hey, it's okay. I wasn't okay. I needed help. And I'm better now.
Yeah, I think it's really amazing what you're saying, because honestly, what you went through is not something I'd wish on anyone. It's such a difficult situation. And like I was tearing up a bit as well, because it's such, especially when it comes to motherhood, there's a connection between you and your child that it's unknowable in the world. And my aunt actually had a situation where she had twins, but she lost them years ago. And to this day, she celebrates their birthday every year. Like she can't ever let it go, because they're still a part of her, even though they're no longer with us. But we always say that they're with my grandfather now in heaven, you know, and that they're in a good place. And that kind of helps her a lot. But I think it doesn't matter, like whatever happens, it's a kind of situation that will never really leave you, because of, especially I think after you give birth, you're in a very fragile state. You've been through a lot in the pregnancy, and it's just a totally different world. And it's something that unless you've really experienced it, you can't fully understand, which is why I think these other mothers, they're just waiting, as you said, for someone else to kind of be like, hey, I've been there, I've felt this, and it really helps. So I did want to ask you, like, this whole situation, you know, how did it help you with, you know, strength and resilience, and what those words mean to you now?
I feel like it took for that experience to kind of show me what truly matters, what breaks me. Because we kind of, oh no, this broke my heart, or this really, and then it puts things into perspective. So strength and resilience for me, and I would really like to kind of take myself out of it, they taught me so much, especially Umar. And Umar is always kind of, it did not look good for him. And today he has epilepsy, and he has left-sided hemiplegia. His left side is slightly weaker than his right. But he walks, he runs, he climbs kind of completely independently, and he can count and speak in, what, 6 languages, maybe 7. Like, he blows my mind with his linguistic ability. But he crawled and he walked a little bit later than the other 2. But he would never let me help. And I used to be very protective over him, especially, and would be in the park, you know, when he wants to climb, and I'm like there. And it was him that would push me away. No. And I watch him today, and resilience, I take it from him. I take it from them, from all 3 of them. Whether it's Fayuna, who acts like she's their mother as well, even though she's she's one of the 3. Whether it's their big sister that had to watch all of this and endure it. And the boys, Wahabi and Umar. So it kind of, they opened my eyes to what really matters, how strong, like if they're these tiny little 700 grams at birth humans showed this much strength and resilience, then who am I to complain, you know?
Honestly, I think that's a beautiful takeaway, and mashallah, they're such blessings, and I really admire their strength as well. And I'm so glad they were able to show you this, because it really just goes to show that kids at the end of the day, they've got that fire, they've got that spark, they're gonna keep going. We are gonna take a very quick break, and then, you know, we'll get back to it. So stay tuned for after the break.
And we're back on the Untold. Now, I do want to ask you about something, because you highlighted previously when you were talking about, you know, your road to recovery, you know, in terms of mental and emotional aspects, is talking to people, you know, seeking a lot of people who are in similar situation. I mean, I believe you mentioned several countries, which, you know, just highlights how broad this kind of problem is. And talking was the key point. So, and you did go into social media to use your platform to talk about, you know, a lot of these topics, to bring awareness to it. So what was the idea behind that decision that made you want to be, okay, I need to be public with this?
It's actually very interesting because it was two things. I mean, part of it was completely accidental. Um, when they were first born, one of the first things the doctors said was, in a few days' time, inshallah, if they kind of survive the first couple of days, we need to slowly start introducing milk to them. And it was drops at the beginning, 1 milliliter, kind of with little teeny tiny droppers. But there was three of them, and the feeds very quickly became 3, 4, 5 ml, 8 times a day times three. And my body wasn't prepared to produce that for all three of them, especially with how early they came. But then I started to read, and I heard that the biggest risk if they don't have their mom's milk or human milk is developing what they call necrotizing colitis, and their colons, kind of a bacteria that could kill them potentially. And I'm like, I would never be able to live with myself if something like that happens, because I wasn't able to give them the milk that they need. And I didn't have it. So I reached out to a few friends. I put something on my personal Facebook page at the time. If anyone's breastfeeding, please, like my babies, and it went viral. Within hours, there were ice boxes and packs coming in from Canada, from Dubai, from Lebanon, from all around the country, freezers. We had to buy freezers at home and just freeze 4 years worth of breast milk. It was incredible. And then this is where at the hospital, they're like, okay, you realize that we can't take this. And I'm like, well, you're not going to give them cow's milk. I'm like, look, we have enough human milk to keep them alive. We're not giving them cow's milk. And then it was like, okay, this has never been done before. Let's kind of do this properly. And we looked for all the tests that we needed to test the milk against to make sure it was safe. And then, of course, we narrowed it down to 3 women, and then registered kind of each one to be like an rida'a, or the breastfeeding, kind of officially registered for each child, so that it's organized. And in the same breath, it's like, okay, why don't we talk about this? Why am I looking all days and night for this to happen accidentally? And this is where I decided this needs a voice here. And so with that breast milk viral story that kind of went around, I started an Instagram account. I thanked the community and everyone. That was just, there was no hesitation. It was women that were willing, that gave up their own milk and gave their own babies cow's milk to give me that, because they're like, our kids are born full term. There's no risk there. You can have ours. So it was that community that kind of opened my eyes to, oh wow, but this isn't spoken about. And it was from there that I thanked everyone, started talking about it. And then I woke up to my Instagram account exploding with private messages. Thank you, finally, thank you. I thought it was just me. I was the only one. We don't talk about prematurity. There's this whole thing that if they were born that early and you lose them, it's almost like a miscarriage. It's not your baby, it's not a full baby, so it's okay. And then I realized, my goodness, this is a huge kind of pain. There's so much pain. So that's, in a nutshell, it was part accidental, part responsibility that I felt.
Well, I think it's amazing that you were able to kind of touch upon this and kind of be the voice for people. And I'm also just, I just want to say thank you to all the wonderful women who contributed to give you this stuff, because they didn't know you, but it's just that sense of motherhood where if a child is in need, you're going to help. And the fact that you were able to not only find this community, but help foster it so that other mothers who might be in the same situation can also find the help and support they need, I think that's a really wonderful thing that you did. And do you feel is there anything you want people to kind of take away from this kind of idea of community or, prematurity in babies and mothers in general?
I would probably say that it takes a village, and there is a village.
I love that.
Truly. And also not to be, knock doors, ask. I think that's my biggest takeaway. There's no harm in asking. Whether it was the milk, whether it was later on where I was told that I wasn't allowed to kind of carry them kangaroo care because of the wires. And I asked, and I was allowed, and I did. And it's there's no harm in asking. I think that's the biggest kind of, yeah.
I think that's a great message. I do want to ask you, did your role as a mother also help shape your role as an educator?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. It changed who I am as an educator. There is always, I think, the teacher before the triplets and the teacher and the educator after the triplets. And I don't think it was a coincidence that I took a break during the triplets, and I took 2 years out of teaching and did corporate, here and there, and kind of felt and I didn't understand why. I couldn't go back to the classroom that I knew until, you know, I was blessed with this honor to kind of build something completely new in education. And it comes back to what we were saying in the beginning. They're not all born the same. They're not all born in the same circumstances. So as educators, how could we possibly measure them all against one standard toolkit?
Yeah.
They have different pasts, different traumas, different strengths, different areas for growth and opportunity. And it is our role as educators, especially with the developing tools and technology. And I am not advocating for technology and screen time, especially not in the little ones, but for educators, it has given us so many opportunities to personalize education in so many ways. So absolutely.
Yeah, and how has your approach to teaching changed, you know, after this whole ordeal?
It's really put an emphasis on the journey and not the result. You know, anyone from the outside looking in at Wahab and Umar now, my boys, they're behind. They're significantly behind in many, many areas. Yes, but can we talk about their journey, where they were and where they are? And I think, especially with the increasing reliance on AI to give us the final result, the polished essay, the polished result, it's like that's a result. We're grading something that machine is generating. The machine is very, very important, but not just yet in early childhood. In like, if we're allowing that output to be what we measure, but that output is silencing their voices, their human, who they are, then what are we doing? We're using a machine to ask and answer and assess and grade. It is so personal and so different from all of them, everyone, all three of us here in this room. It's not the same. So that has really shaped kind of look at the journey, not the end result. It doesn't matter the end result, where it is. It's how were we yesterday? How were we last week? Where were we last week? And in the middle of all of this beautiful, perfect end result, what can I take as a teacher, as an educator, to prove or to evidence or to assess the building of, did they ask a question? They did. Where could I see the question? Was it a conversation? Was it a note? Was it a reminder? Was it the resilience coming up? Did they try to climb 5 times, 6 times, or did they just try once and give up? That's really changed my perspective on education.
I mean, I think what you're saying is so refreshing to hear, by the way, because the idea that not all kids are the same and that they learn differently, they have different talents and skills, and the one-size-fits-all education system tends to overlook a lot of these things. Like, there are some kids who are so good at puzzles or building things, but they don't excel as well in, like, you know, writing essays or something like that, or more the written word or languages, and vice versa. And every child has their talents, they have their creativity. And it's when you're kind of told you're not smart enough or you're not good enough, that really is damaging to a child's psyche, and that they tend to believe that they can't excel or they can't do things, when in reality, it's just the system is not working for them. And this is, I think, a universal situation. I've known a lot of people who are actually really smart, but they don't believe that they are smart because they didn't do well in school. And I think it's refreshing to hear that you're kind of addressing this issue. So I do want to ask you, like, what principles do you kind of go for when you're designing or creating a curriculum?
I like to look at it as one cohesive, integrated model or journey. And this is where the technology comes in for teachers, not students so much. When if I'm trying to teach a certain, let's say, for example, opinion writing in English, and my math focus right now is geometry, and we're looking at shapes. My science unit is inheritance and trait, or light and sound, for example. What are the human skills that are required here? I need the empathy to ask the why. I need problem solving to try and find, okay, this didn't work with the shapes and the geometry, so I need to find an alternative solution. I need to fail and kind of, okay, why didn't that work, and try again? That's resilience. I need to think outside the box in terms of, okay, these shapes, the light and sound unit, what shapes, if I change the kind of angle of the light, what different shapes will that give me on the ground? And this comes back exactly to what you're saying. There's no one that isn't smart, and I hate that word.
Yeah.
Everyone is. It's just our brains work in different ways. We grasp things in different ways. And I think this is, growing up, I remember so much was abstract or not relevant to our context, or we're
Yeah.
counting in pounds and pennies. But it's like, hold on a minute, do we even know that there's 1,000 fils in a dinar here? Like, it's a completely different, like there's a removal. Or we look at rivers and ocean, like, but we don't know
We
who
don't have
our,
them, yeah.
exactly. But it's like, why aren't we looking at desert flowers, native kind of al-arfaj? Why wasn't that introduced to us when we looked at weather and climate and desert environments back then? And I think this is where we need to contextualize the learning. And if we have an understanding of the curriculum, kind of this is the vertical and this is the horizontal kind of spiraling in terms of learning. We know that. That doesn't change. But the context changes. And what if I'm able to create a context that is more adaptable, more relevant here, but still addressing the learning that's taking place in these subjects? Identity, I think that's a big one. I think us growing up here, being from here, but exposed to different contexts, excluding our own, puts you in a difficult third world kind of, where do I belong? Who am I? And bringing in identity and weaving it all in, where I can look and think, okay, they achieved the objective. What I'm looking for is to see whether or not they understand the distance from X to Y. The writers, like people like, or like the speakers and people like, I can sit down and probably write down 5 pages as to why.
Yeah.
But I could never pick up a compass and a protractor and show you how, God, no, I've lost me there
Same, I
completely,
can't.
So it doesn't matter. Like, show me how, and link them all together. And I think that's the future. That's where we're going with it.
Yeah, honestly, very well said. And I do love how you emphasize the idea of future, because we are running out of time. I do want to give you the platform to reflect on the future and what it is next for you, Nouf.
It unfolds slowly every day. But if I look at the future as a whole, I think the future is absolutely, without a doubt, going back to the basics of emotional human connection. That's the one thing that machines can't replicate. And that's the one thing that sets us apart, and what the machine needs from us, but what our kids need from us, I think, always. So it's going back, the future's going back to the basics, but to the power of 1,000,000, because we have all these tools to help support us get there. So it's always changing, it's always evolving, and I think that's okay. And I think that's okay to feel at a certain point that I don't know yet, or it's changing now, and that's okay.
I think that was very well said. And you're right. I mean, change is the only constant, right? They always do say that, as hard as it is to kind of accept. But I do love the direction you're taking. And I love the way you're incorporating these lessons to, kids you're teaching and all that. And I really hope that it gets kind of, as you said, in the future, more of a thing, because I think it will really help shape the generations in a better way. And I want to thank you for sharing everything with us today.
Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you. It was an honor. Thank you for listening. And thank you for the trip down memory lane as well. That was
Well, all thanks goes to you, honestly. I mean, you're a great speaker. Hopefully the audience have enjoyed this as much as we have. But with that being said, we are going to take a very quick break, so stay tuned.
And that was all for today's episode. And honestly, Abdullah, I was so overcome with emotion by her journey through motherhood, what she went through with her babies. But I was also really blessed to see how she took lessons from that and strength and community and became a voice for other mothers in the same situation.
Yeah, honestly, Lujain, the things or the traumatic, experiences that Nouf went through, and then to be able to come down and hear and sit with us to talk to us about it, to have her platform dedicated to bringing awareness to it. She was all smiles, she was all happiness. Honestly, she's a role model, I would say, perseverance of courage.
I agree entirely. And I also loved her approach to education, the way that she's able to say it's not a one size fits all. Every child is different and unique. And we have to foster that creativity and that brilliance inside all of them. And I really think it was an amazing episode.
It was an amazing episode. If you know that schools have teachers like Nouf, you can be rest assured knowing that your children are in safe hands. With that being said, Lujain, I think that's it from us, the team of the Untold. Until the next episode, goodbye for now.
Goodbye and see you next time.